Hi guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. I am doing something a little bit different today than I normally do. I am doing actually kind of a history education lesson here. I have mentioned a couple videos on my channel at this point that have discussed how I have a particular indicator that I use to measure silver versus cryptocurrency and the performance of those two asset classes in relationship to each other. And none of this is financial advice. However, this is a hell of a history lesson, and you guys are in for a wild ride through this presentation, and I hope it's insightful and really gets you guys to think about the value in everything that you do, literally. So getting into this, what is the value of a dollar? How is this defined? If you don't know how it's ever been defined, this is going to be amazing for you to find it here firsthand. It's about standards. So we live on an economic planet. We conduct trade, sales amongst each other, whether that be for goods, produce goods, grown goods, something else like that. So we always want to make sure that we can at least exchange value for value and make sure that it is standard. For example, a yard is always 36 inches, a pound always has 16 ounces. A standard like a constitutional dollar always has a same amount of the metal that is chosen as its definition. So we are talking about establishing a baseline thing that is accepted by everybody interacting with the medium. What is a troy ounce? Referring to, this is going to tie in the talk on precious metals. Precious metals are measured in what they call troy ounces. A troy ounce is, it is used in commodities, specifically precious metals, and it has been in use since 1527 and officially became the U.S. Mint way of adopting and weighing and measuring its coinage in 1828. Now it's the standard unit of measurement for all precious metals around the world. Great. What is a constitutional dollar? So let's get into this. On the left-hand side of this, you have a United States Treasury Mint product. It is a 1 troy ounce silver coin, and on the right you have a silver certificate. Notice it says the United States of America, and up at the top it says silver certificate, $1, and on the bottom in silver payable to bearer on demand. This was indicative of there being some sort of silver reserves in the treasury that somebody could take this to and redeem this as a silver certificate, redeemable for the metal on the left. That is a constitutional dollar. Now we're going to get into this pretty in depth here, so just wait. Now, some constitutional measurements, if you don't know, the only coinage actually come from the Treasury. The Federal Reserve only produces Federal Reserve notes, which we'll get into here in a second. However, the Constitution has laid out our coinage, dimes, do have a certain amount of weight to them. They're a certain troy ounce, which equals to a certain amount of grams. And for the rest of this presentation, these are going to be the two things that we focus on when we get into the math. Quarters, 5.5 grams, and half dollars, 11 or 12 grams. Okay, great. So keep going on here. Now, we're talking about constitutional money. We're talking about the dollar as it's defined in the Constitution. This is a snippet of the 7 money clauses that are from the Article of the Constitution of the United States. These are essentially the framework for our coinage and for the Treasury and how our money was supposed to be, how our money is supposed to operate in this country. They have very strict rules, and I know that a lot of people say it was a different time, but they were very strict, especially when it comes to bills of credit. What is legal tender? What is debt? What is a bill of credit? Things like that. Borrowing. And carrying on with that, the Constitution's 5 money rules. Now, here is where we actually get this dollar concept defined. And it was always interesting to me, why do we call ours a dollar, and then there's a peso, and there's a euro? Well, a dollar has a definition, and this is what it is. So according to the Constitution, the basic unit of a dollar is silver coin containing 371.25 grains of pure silver. Only gold or silver coins can be legal tender, but that's the thing that I want to look at, is that 371.25 grains of pure silver. What is a Federal Reserve note? So keep that number in mind. This is what we're looking at. Notice it looks a little bit different from the silver certificate. Notice at the bottom it only says $1. There's nothing redeemable. And up at the top it says Federal Reserve note instead of the United States. So this was all as a result of President Woodrow Wilson in 1913 enacting the Federal Reserve System as the central bank of the United States to provide the nation with a safer, more flexible, and more stable monetary and financial system. The law set out its purpose, structures, and functions of the system, as well as outlines aspects of its operations and accountability. This is so important and something that people forget. Congress has the power to amend the Federal Reserve Act, which it has done several times over the years. The complete act, as amended, is provided here in this section, and I have a link to where I pulled that from there. So this is an institution that controls our monetary policy in this country that is literally an act of Congress and could be changed from congressional, action. Just keep that in mind as we go through this, because we're gonna bring this up in a couple seconds. So, how does the Federal Reserve compare to the Constitution? We're gonna get right into that. Here's our experiment, our standards experiment. So this is what we know so far. We have gathered in this discussion that 1 troy ounce equals 31.1034768 grams. And we know that 1 constitutional dollar is equal to 371.25 grains of silver. And grains of silver converted to grams is approximately 24.0565953 grams. Great. So 1 constitutional dollar is approximately 0.77343749% of a troy ounce. Or another way of saying it, 1 troy ounce is equivalent to 1.29293 constitutional dollars. So that silver coin that we were looking at is 1 troy ounce silver coin. Constitutionally speaking, it should have a value of 1.29. Okay, let's keep that in mind. All right, 1.29 is actually a constitutional dollar, and that's what a silver value is here. This is a snapshot of the futures market here for the silver. This is the June 25th, 2022. We're going to look at the green line, so that is at 21.14. So for the remainder of this experiment, we're going to be using a silver ounce, troy ounce price of 21.14. And notice that's also the Federal Reserve note price as well too, but keep that in mind in just a second. So let's add this math up real quick. All right, so if we're just going based off of prima facie evidence here, we have the same silver coin, and it always weighs 31.1034768 grams. That is 1 troy ounce. And we know constitutionally, a constitutional dollar should be $1.29, just say. So approximately, 4 cents per gram. That's constitutionally speaking. What we have is a market value today where if you were to go to a market and purchase with what is available to us right now, a silver ounce, that same coin, you would be paying $21.14. And actually it would be higher than that because they're spot prices, but I'm not getting confused in this. This is enough to prove the point. And you'd be paying approximately 68 cents per gram for that same coin using the Federal Reserve note. The difference in that, yes, you're right, you're looking at that number correctly, is 1,536% decrease. And that's just today's snapshot from what the constitutionally defined unit of a dollar is. So you may have thought, oh, you've heard that number, that 97% since it was introduced. Well, constitutionally speaking, we're actually down 1,536% in your purchasing power on that. Now, we're not done yet. Crude oil, they go by West Texas Intermediate. This is the WTI. The oil to silver ratio measures the number of ounces of silver it would take to equal 1 barrel of oil. This is a chart that I just put together by basically putting all the data into a spreadsheet, and basically we're over to the right hand side. There's so much data in here, it was done weekly, But basically what you can see right now, our number is at 5.07. So for the time being, we're measuring the cost of a barrel of oil, WTI, in Federal Reserve notes versus the cost of silver in Federal Reserve notes, and it creates a ratio of 5.07. This means that it takes 5.07 ounces of silver today, that's troy ounces, to purchase 1 full barrel of oil, WTI. Okay, that's as of today. In times of recession, this number actually retreats back to higher numbers. So right now we're right in the middle. The highest it ever was, and this was right before the actual recession, the highest it ever was, or the most undervalued silver ever was back here in 2005. And we're currently at that 5.7 mark. Okay, keep this in mind going on. How many gallons of gasoline in a barrel? You know, most of the cars in this country running, you know, gasoline. So just for this experiment, we're going to do gallons of gasoline from a barrel. So that barrel, which took us 5 silver coins to buy, produces 19 gallons of gasoline for me. Great. Okay. Now, here's where we get into this. So as of today, June 25th, if it takes 5.7 ounces of silver to purchase 1 barrel of WTI crude that is going to produce to me, if I even had the refining equipment and everything to it, it's going to produce for me 19 gallon of gasoline distillates that I can use to power my vehicle. That means that essentially, based on the math down here, 5.07 times 21.14 an ounce is $107.18. Divide that by 19 gallon. That means that buying this in Federal Reserve notes, I'm paying $5.64 per gallon. So that must also mean if I actually had constitutional dollars at the bottom equation here, that same ratio, that 5.07 times $1.29 equals $6.56 a gallon, a barrel, divided by 19 gallons of gasoline in that barrel. That gets you a today price of 34 cents per gallon using a constitutional dollar. So guys, this was an experiment through history, an experiment with, you know, current market pricings, and kind of playing with an experiment here based on what's real, because, you know, there's 3 things that a lot of really smart people, oh, by the way, you know, let's check our math. Is it that same amount roughly? Yeah, take a look there, 1,535. So the math checks out, plus or minus a couple percentage points, no big deal. But guys, you guys see that this right here is what needs to be considered at this point. This is an act of Congress that is causing a tremendous amount of stress to many people across the world, and I think that it's time that we wake up and start, you know, actually pointing fingers where the blame is, instead of, you know, certain, you know, things that mainstream would want you to believe. But this institution here is really the main root as to a lot of these issues that we have, you know. And I believe in crypto because I do believe that it takes centralized power away from these people who have, you know, all of these effects on what they're doing. You know, they've taken 1,500% of purchasing power and theft and wealth away from, you know, the American population and the world. So this was a little bit different, guys. Hope you enjoy and entertain these thoughts for a little bit. It's serious stuff, but like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much.